Welcome to the Bleav Network's Best of Bleav Hour on Stadium. Do you believe?
We're back, baby. It's the Charity Stripe. Hit your free throws because they are free. Joshua Fisher, Alexander, Toss Me the Rock, Casopoulos, DJ, Nikki, Snacks, Carter, Best to Bleav right here on Stadium and StreamYard. We are virtual gentlemen, Toss, D-Town, Nick, Los Angeles, and myself in Boca Raton, Florida, kicking it. It was not sunny at all. It was cold, rainy, and windy. It was like 40 degrees. I was cool with it.
On the last show, Josh, remember you asked us, you were like, guys, there's something different about me this show. And we were like, what? And you were like, oh, this is the first show I'm doing without a hat on. And Nick and I were like, there's no way that was true. This is the first show that I'm doing without my ears showing.
Wow. How about that?
Great. I thought you were gonna be like, oh, this is the first show that you're 28 years old for, and like wish me a happy birthday. But no, your ears are covered.
Hey, that too. Happy birthday.
Shabbat shalom. Yeah.
But good to your point about Boca Raton being cold, I think the country's feeling you. I think there's other places out there that are much colder.
Yeah, you know who's not
except
cold?
for LA.
Except for LA, you know who's not cold? Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is not cold at all whatsoever. Toss, I have a two-part question for you. Ready?
Ready.
Okay. Part one, I think I know what the answer is, and part two, we'll see. Part one, does this undoubtedly, in your mind, make him the best player in the league this game? Does this cement that for you?
No, it doesn't. But I do think that where I had in my power rankings of NBA players, best player on the planet, I had Giannis clearly as number one, with a mixture of Kevin Durant, Luka, Joel Embiid, Jokic after him, Steph Curry after him, depending on who's playing, the best basketball at the time. I can't confidently say that Giannis is the best player on the planet right now. I from what Jokic has done with that team and what Luka was able to do last night and the previous few games, with his, the rest of the cast of the Mavericks crew, I just can't say that Giannis is the best player on the planet. So I think it's a really fun time in the NBA. Obviously, every media personality has their own pick for who's the best guy out there right now. And I think right now it's a time where we can kind of relish, just creating the narrative of a different guy for whoever it is. And I think it works. But what Luka was able to do, historic game, 60, 20, 10, never been done before, breaking ground in that way in NBA record books as a 23-year-old, when he's already done so much, from other records, like the triple double, he's already passed 50, right? He's going to end up either at the top in that category by the time he's done playing or close to it. Like, this guy he's a true legend in the making. And as long as he keeps performing at the same clip and he gets one ring, he'll end up as a top 20 player of all time.
Yeah. That's crazy stat. Not just the triple double and the 60 points, but heading into that game, NBA teams were 0 for 13,884 in the last 20 seasons when trailing by 9 with 35 seconds or fewer. And he came back and pulled it off.
But that's the point. Emphasis on he. I mean, Dinwiddie hit that big shot, and he did set a Mavs franchise record for points in a game that night. Yeah. Now, the two-part question to you is real quick. Is it worrisome as a Mavs fan and someone who covers the team that that's what it took to beat the Knicks, who were down Brunson, down RJ Barrett because he left 2 minutes into the game? Is it worrisome that that's what it took to beat that team in overtime?
No. We're missing Josh Green and Dorian Finney-Smith. We're missing two guys that on any given night could be our second or third best player. And we're also missing Maxi Kleber, our best paint protector. And I think that there's enough talent in the NBA in a regular season game where you could be missing any of your stars and your team could upset another team, a quote unquote upset. Right. So that doesn't worry me that much.
Earlier this week, the Clippers came back and beat the Pistons. They were down by, I believe it was 14 with like 3:30 left, and they sent it to overtime and beat the Pistons. And that they had Kawhi and Paul George in that game.
Right. Yeah, good point. It's more indicative that I don't think that this Knicks team has enough from an experience standpoint especially when Brunson's not on the court to close games out. And so that's what I would be wary of if I got into, an Eastern Conference playoff round with whoever they're playing.
Great. Nick, you bring up the Pistons. So let's go to Bleav in Pistons. Check this clip out right here and hear, what they have to say about their team and their current state.
Much better than it was last year, but the defense has fallen off a cliff, and every Detroit Pistons team that is a winner is known for its defense. You can't call this a rebuild or restoration if your defense is not hitting. So look, last year, the defensive rating was 24th in the league at 113.3. And if they had a 113.3 defensive rating this year, it would be even better, than it fared this year or last year. 7.7 steals per game, 4.8 blocks per game. Opponent second chance points with 12.5 points per game. And then the point paints for the opponents was under 50. I think that is a good metric. You want to hold people under 50 points in the paint. You don't want them coming in and getting 120 and half the points is in the paint. That means you got punked. 2022-2023, the Pistons right now, their current record at the time of this article is 8-26, and they're on pace for 18-19 total wins. That, I'm sorry, that is just too. That's not the start that you want to see out of a team that's supposed to be coming back and building on what they had last season.
This team, Nick, the Clippers came back, and they came back because the Pistons are piss poor. They're horrible. And quite frankly, it's their season's going to get an incomplete because they're lacking Cade Cunningham, who's now going to be out for the year. It's going to be nice to see what Jalen Duran can do. It's going to be nice to see what Jaden Ivey can do. Could he be the guy that's the face of this franchise? But ultimately, they need defense, and they need a guy that can really protect the paint. Excuse me, or a guy that's a really strong wing and can guard at the top of the key and guard some of the threes and fours, quote unquote, in the NBA. This is a team that's really problematic for me in my eyes. And quickly, I want to go to another team that's problematic. Maybe the problems are solved in the Phoenix Suns. Bleav in Suns.
For those 10 years, obviously the team rebuilt, during the 2010s, but it seemed like those were Starver's years. The 7 seconds or less years are really the product of Jerry Colangelo, right or wrong?
They say that about two incidences. One, obviously Amari Stoudemire going to New York City, right. And I'm not on the staff now, but at the time, Amari asked me about that, and I just simply said, it's New York City, Amari. Like,
yeah, right.
Bell in New York City, you're going to be on the front page of the Post. If you succeed in New York City, you're going to be on the back page of the Post. So it really doesn't matter what you really go for when you're making a transition from Phoenix to New York City and playing in the Mecca. And then also, the Steve Kerr situation. Steve was, as he came in as a general manager, he was promised a contract after 3 years. He signed Shaq. He kept Nash. He kept Grant Hill. Put that team together. Obviously, with a broken face bone to Joe Johnson, who knows what that team probably could have done. And when it was time to re-up that contract, and they were partners. They were supposed to have been pretty good friends from the U of A days, and he didn't take care of him. So who knows? If he was a guy who didn't really want to shovel out the cash or not.
This lovely trio of guys, if you go to their Twitter, I think it was Dana Scott's Twitter, it's a photo of the three of them. It's got to be one of the cutest things on Bleav, best of Bleav right here. Matt Ishbia, though, buying the team, a Michigan State product, buying the team.
Michigan State player.
That's what I mean by product. And
he was a walk-on. I want to clarify.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with walk-ons, man.
Nothing wrong with walk-ons, my guy. Nothing wrong with walk-ons. We love walk-ons in this.
If I bought a team, are they going to just say, he was just a Texas walk-on, whatever?
Toss will say that you were just a Texas walk-on. Now the true colors are showing. For me, though, the Suns, it's a very interesting point.
I honestly, wait, hold on. I just think that being a walk-on is almost more impressive than like being a scholarship athlete on the team. You have to go through more adversity.
Good. Don't think it's more.
All right. Yeah. All right. No ears to Sopolis. Good one on that. I think for me, though, it's a really good point they bring up that Sarver kind of rode the coattails of any success he had on the front end from the D'Antoni Nash Stoudemire days. And most of his tenure at the Phoenix Suns, up until Chris Paul really got there and elevated him and Devin Booker and the number one pick, DeAndre Ayton, the Phoenix Suns had the longest streak of a playoff drought. They were horrible as well. Like when we say the Pistons were terrible, at least in this, century, the Pistons have, made the final. They've won.
Yeah.
Right. So it's really, really piss poor. in his tenure in the Suns part. But that's our little NBA segment right there for you. Best to Bleav, Josh Fisher, Alexander Tossman, Octosopoulos, DJ, Nikki, Snack Skrider. We'll see you guys on the other side.
Hang tight. We'll be right back in just a second with some more great Bleav content on Stadium.